Hello again and welcome to another 140k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we get into today's video, I would like to say a huge thank you to Kano Rubivar for sending in some awesome pictures of his Death Court of Krieg and Imperial Knight Army. Have to say I really like this colour scheme. The combination of the yellow, the blue and the green I think just works really well. I really like the fact that you've captured the grittiness of the Death Court of Krieg but combined it with sort of the flashy flare bright uniform that you'd expect from sort of a knight, you know, sort of knight in shining armour, regal style uniform. I think it looks really cool. So thank you for sending these pictures in. If anyone else has got any pictures they want me to use in my videos, please post them on my Facebook page. And if you don't use Facebook, then you can email me at mordianglorytv@gmail.com, and the Facebook link will be down in the description below. One other awesome thing that I want to mention, guys, before we get into today's video, I am doing a huge Patreon supporter giveaway this month in time for Christmas. I will be giving away one of the new Bastion Platoon boxes and a start collecting set. That is £175 worth of models. That is enough for a basic guard army for you, to get yourself started or to massively increase your current existing collection. It's a battalion with trimmings worth of guard. And I'm giving that away to one lucky Patreon supporter. Doing such a big giveaway because it's Christmas time and my Patreon supporters are awesome. And without my Patreon supporters, this channel would truly be just nowhere where it is now. It'd be a big pile of poo. I'm still doing battle reports on my phone and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a massive way of saying thank you to my Patreon supporters for supporting the channel, helping it grow. And if you want to sign up, it's really easy. You just go down to the Patreon. Go over to the Patreon page. There'll be a link down in the description below. It's all down in the description below. Links down in the description below for everything. You should check the description below more. It's where the cool kids hang out. But if you want to follow the link down in the description below, it'll take you over to Patreon. There's no minimum. There's no maximum. I'm purely just funded on this channel by people's generosity, and it's just absolutely awesome. And I just want to say a massive thank you to the Patreons. And like I said, you can sign up for $1, you can sign up for $100. It really doesn't matter. But if you sign up, you will be in with a chance to win. And I will be announcing the winner next week. And I'll be continuing to sort of mention this. So don't worry. And I'll be giving an exact date for when I'll be doing the draw. And I'll be mentioning all that. But there we go. Enough of a preamble. Let's get on with today's video. So guys, what we're going to be talking about, we're going to be continuing with the infantry theme. We are going to be talking about infantry squads and the current 9th edition loadout that you want to be running. We will be considering all the weapon options, ticking off why ones are good, ones are bad, which ones, and basically which final loadout I think is the most competitive for 9th edition if you're running an infantry heavy army. We are talking about a pure infantry army or like a 60 or 70% infantry army, one where infantry is the core of the list. And maybe you've got a bit of artillery or something else, but that doesn't really matter. You're looking at pure infantry or infantry heavy army. What is the best loadout? Now, I'm not going to be talking about infantry squad loadouts in general or anything like that for like hybrid armies. This is the competitive infantry squad loadout for a mostly or pure infantry guard army. Okay, you know what you signed up for, you know what you've got yourselves into. Let's get into those loadouts. So before we even look at weapon options, before we even consider weapon options, we have to consider the regimental doctrines. That's where you have to start. Why? Because those regimental doctrines will have a big impact on the efficiency and which weapons are best to take for your infantry squads. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, for me, I would now say the most competitive way of running your pure infantry is using the custom regiment trait for taking wilderness survivors and taking disciplined shooters. You guys have seen me use this in action. I've used it on my pretty fluffy Mordian list in multiple battle reports, and the fact that that regiment trait combo is so strong has allowed me to take a fluffy Mordian list and boost it into actually being pretty damn good. Okay, so you can imagine how effective it is when you run it competitively. Okay, so let's break down what those two traits do. First one, wilderness survivors, 4+ save. Basically, you always count as being cover. Now you don't get to be in cover and stack it up. You can't get a 3+ save from cover. Basically, you always count as being cover as long as you don't advance. Why is this so good? It increases the durability of your guards by 16%. It allows you to start. And now I know we're talking about infantry squads purely here, but if you allow me to tangent off for a second, allows you to do some crazy durability things with your guard. Okay, so firstly, you could look at things like conscripts, or if we just want to stick with the infantry squad thing, combined squads of infantry. So you've got looking at 20 guys, maybe 30 guys, okay? You have one of those squads with wilderness survivors on it. You've got a 4+ save, okay? You then use the take cover stratagem on that squad. You have a 3+ save. You then cast psychic barrier on that squad. You've got a 2+ save on a squad of 20 or 30 guardsman models, whether it's guardsmen or conscripts. Okay, that is really durable. You can make that squad fearless either with the once per game stratagem. You can make it likely they're going to pass the morale check by using fights to the death. That's the one for the guard where you take it on a D3. You can make them fearless via an astropath or an inquisitor with the psychic power there. The point is that it makes you really, really durable. Okay, now in previous editions, Imperial Fists were the go-to chapter for Space Marines, so this trait wasn't as good. But Imperial Fists have definitely fallen out of favour with a lot of competitive Marine armies out there. We're seeing things like White Scars taken to the field, Black Templars being considered weirdly competitive. I don't think they outdo White Scars, I'll be totally honest, and I am a bit of a Black Templar fanboy. But the point is, we're seeing things like White Scars, coming up. Now, White Scars, obviously, they're good in combat and whatnot, don't get me wrong, but they tend to soften you up first and then go in. Well, guess what? It's a lot harder to soften you up when everyone's 16% more durable. If your Marine player is running a lot of AP-1 bolters and whatnot, you really want to be starting on a 4+ save, because let me tell you, I don't know, I mean, statistically, it makes sense as well, but just from a psychological point of view, I have run armies that rely upon fishing for 6s for survivability. My Gene Stealer Cult having a 6+ invulnerable save, 6+ feel no pain. Fishing for 6s is not a reliable way of staying durable at all. Okay, so if you are a guard player and you're going from your 5+ to a 6+ all the time, thanks to all those AP-1 things out there, you need to reset the clock. And the way you do that is by starting on a 4+ save. Okay, starting on a 4+ save and then being kicked back to your 5+. Think about the lethality of the game, guys. Think about nitrogen. Think about durability. Okay, so that's what you want to do. Now, yes, you can't advance, but we are looking at smaller board sizes now. It's just because what you can do is you can always advance a few squads and move a few squads, and then if you want to. And then take some objectives, and then the rest of your army, I should say, and then if you want to, very dramatic, then that sentence trailed off, and then the rest of your army keeps durability, and the second wave powers onto the objective, and the third wave, and the fourth wave, so you can sacrifice a bit of durability to get the initial land gains, and then your army digs in, and it's durable. So that's one thing that's really, really good. Also means you don't have to try and cram your maneuverability, you don't have to cram your men into bits of cover to try and survive. You're in cover, you're good to go. So that's why it's really good. It's sort of anti-meta, it's anti-ninth, it's good. Right, Wilderness Survivors, done, dusted. I'm sure there's a few other bits I can make, but we'll leave it at that for now. Then we're looking at Disciplined Shooters. Right, 18-inch rapid fire, fan-bloody-tastic. It allows you to get maximum efficiency out of some of the best weapon options that you have got in the Codex, which we'll be talking about in a moment. It also means you can actually get something out of your lasguns. Lasguns don't really do a lot unless they're all shooting 4 shots pretty much every single turn, or the vast majority shooting 4 shots every single turn. 18-inch rapid fire combined with first rank fire, second rank fire means every lasgun, the moment the enemy gets within that 18-inch range, is putting out 4 shots. Okay, now you're going to be running with the loadouts that we're going to be looking at. You're going to be looking at 7 lasguns that are going putting out 4 shots each from 1 squad. You're going to be doing that with every single squad. Okay, so that's really, really, with a lot of squads. 10 or 11 infantry squads are going to be getting first rank fire, second rank fire every single time. You're looking at 10 squads, 4 shots per guy. It starts getting crazy. You're looking at 100, 400 shots. You're looking at 400 lasgun shots a turn. Something great. You've got 100 guys all getting 4 shots a turn. That's just from your lasguns. 400 lasgun shots a turn. Okay, that is enough weight of fire to even just psychologically browbeat your opponent with. Okay, and that will make your opponent start going, I don't want to advance into that 18-inch cone of death. And so they have to soften you up first, which means they're not taking ground, which means you are winning on the objectives. Okay, and if they do come into you, you've got so much weight of fire, you'll grind them down. Okay, we're looking at some of the battle reports I've had recently. I've had ones where, and battles that I haven't battle reported recently. You know, if you look at the Winter's SEO one and the latest one on the Morning Glory channel between the Mordians, the Winter's SEO one, Winters came forward, he went into the cone of death, he went into the killing fields, and he got lasgunned to death. Okay? If you look at the latest Morning Glory one, my opponent, Johnny, Scholar Progenium, go and check his channel out, he didn't want to move his bikes in turn 1 because he didn't want to get lasgunned to death. What did that let me do? It allowed me to take ground. It helped me to win on primary objectives. Okay, so it's really, really good. It also fits in with the fact that, you know, whilst the boards are smaller, you're going to have about 3 lines of infantry. Okay, not if you're relying on a 12-inch rapid fire, you're probably only going to have that first line of infantry in rapid fire at any point. So this allows you to have 2 lines of infantry in rapid fire, nearly the whole game. Okay, so it's really, really potent. It's really potent, and that factors in. And you are going to want to be having some infantry shooting from 18 inches away because you're going to be looking like protecting your characters. And again, this fits into the actual weapon loadouts that we're going to be talking about in a moment. So there you go. I spent like 8 minutes of this video talking about stuff that affects the loadout before we even get to the loadout. Some would call that waffle. I would call it thorough. Anyway, let's carry on and get into the actual thing that you guys are here to hear about, which is guns. We want to know about the guns, Morning Glory. What loadout should we be talking about? Well, let's just smash through the special weapons first. Right. Special weapons have gone up and down, left and right. Sometimes grenade launchers have been good, sometimes they've been bad. Flamers have kind of been universally rubbish, even with the range increase. It's probably not enough. Yeah, sniper rifles still rubbish. Okay, grenade launchers were contender when they were 3 points. Now they're 5 points. Goodbye. Flamers, you know, random number of shots, still not good enough. Goodbye. You know, if you want to have good flamers, you want heavy flamers. Okay, but you can't take those in your regular infantry squads. So sad times. Sniper rifles, you're going to want to be moving forward, constantly pushing forward with your heavy infantry army. You can't be relying on a single shot weapon hitting on a 5. Sorry, it's not good enough. You know it's only 2 points. It's still... No. Put those on your command squads. Put those on your veteran squads, but not on your infantry squads. Right. What does that leave us with? We're looking at plasma. We're looking at melter. Now, if you've taken the 18-inch rapid fire trait, you're probably going to want to take the old plasma. Melter has had buffs in 9th edition. I'm still not convinced it's good enough for them to be the main weapon in a pure infantry guard army. I think if you run out of plasma gun models, putting in melters is a totally fine substitute. Okay? You know, it's like when you get that cheese that's like 30% less fat. It still tastes pretty good, but you really want the full fat cheese, right? That's what we're all here for. So it's like that. It does the job. You can melt it on your chips or whatever, or well, chips or fries if we're American. But you know, really, you wanted the really gooey, you know, strong, extra mature cheddar, and that's what we're looking at with the plasma. Okay. Melter can fill in, and if you're running 18 infantry squads and you've only got 12 plasma guns and you end up having 6 melters, totally fine. Totally fine. Okay? Now, for those of you that are weeping over the loss of the grenade launcher, don't. We have a special place for that. It's in a different unit though, but don't worry, we still got them. Right, so, plasma. Really, really good. Why do I prefer plasma over melter? One other reason. I have had, over many editions, my melters, every game, occasionally do something awesome. My plasma consistently every single turn does something good. Okay, and that's what we want in the guard. Consistency. Damaged, overcharge, damage 2. You don't care if they're blowing up and dying. Plasma now only explodes on a 1. The modifiers don't affect it anymore. That's great. Okay, you don't want to be using take aim. You just want to be getting volume of shots out there. If you're running 18 plasma guns minimum in your army, and we're actually looking at running a lot more than 18. Okay, I'm thinking of 27 plasma guns in an army. Okay, well, if you take into account veteran squads at least. The veterans, they can take aim. Don't really care about them, but the regular infantry squads, they just want to be getting as much damage out as possible. Don't care if they die. It's fine. You've got 18 of them. Okay? You'll be fine. It'll be okay. Don't worry. If you're really that bothered, take Yarrick. I wouldn't. He's a bit overcost. But if you're really that bothered, take Yarrick. Anyway. That's why plasma's good. Fits in with your 18-inch rapid fire. Consistent damage. Cheap enough now. It's only 5 points. It's a no-brainer. It's back in there. Grenade launchers are 5 points. Plasma are 5 points. Sorry. We're looking at plasma. So that's why I prefer plasma. Right, I've said plasma 100 times, the word's starting to sound weird now. Let's get into heavy weapons. So, previously I would have said las cannons. Okay? Still think las cannons are a good option, bit expensive at 15 points. We kind of need to take a cheaper option than that because we're probably going to be paying for some other equipment outside of heavy and special weapons. Okay? So, las cannons are a bit expensive. Missile launchers, when they were 10 points, I would have said yes every single day of the week. Now they're 15 points, I will say no every day of the week. Blast rule isn't worth a 50% increase in cost of the weapon. Sorry, Games Workshop. Blast rule's kind of a red-headed stepchild of a rule. We don't really want it. So there you go. Missile launchers, it's out, it's gone, goodbye. They're still fine. I feel like I'm being really harsh, and some people are going to get really upset because I told them all to make missile launchers. Missile launchers are still okay. Just, we're not looking at them in infantry squads, all right? We're looking at them elsewhere. Missile launchers are still good elsewhere, right? So your missile launchers, they need to really go down 10 points again, but they're still a totally fine take-all-comers weapon, right? Las cannons, if you had to pick between the two, you're going to take a las cannon every single time. But I think actually what we want to look at is heavy bolters and autocannons, okay? I think heavy bolters went out. Okay, the reason why I think heavy bolters are better is pretty simple. It comes down to three things. One, it comes down to the way the wounding mechanic in 8th and now 9th edition works, okay? Even if you shoot that thing at a night, you've still got a good chance of plinking a wound off. Don't forget, they don't have to be your main source of... Your heavy weapons don't have to be your main source of anti-tank, okay? Your main source of anti-tank, you're running 18 to 27 plasma guns. That's a lot of anti-tank. That's a lot of damage, okay? But knights... I know there's been some comeback from Chaos Knights in the competitive scene, but by and large, Knights aren't doing too well in the competitive scene. Okay, we're looking at really durable infantry, toughness 4, and things like big bikes and stuff like that, like Harlequin bikes and custodies and all this kind of stuff. So heavy bolters are good because they have the good wounding mechanic. They're never going to wound anything worse than a 5, and they're never going to. So they're good. You can just sling damage into people, and they're never going to. And they're going to often wound on 3s, which is really good. Second thing they've gone up to is volume of fire. Okay, you're going to be moving a lot with this pure infantry army. Okay, you need the heavy bolters to be able to reach out and do long range damage to people. Okay, but you're going to be moving a lot. So you kind of want to make sure that every time you shoot the heavy bolter, it's got a good chance of at least hitting the enemy. So if you move, or that heavy weapon shade, it's got a good chance of hitting the enemy. If you move the heavy bolter, yes, you're hitting on 5s, but guess what? You're not hitting on any worse than 5s because the modifiers cap out at -1. So that means that if you move and shoot the heavy bolter, statistically, you should get 1 hit every single time. And what are we looking for in this army? Consistency. That's pretty good consistency. Okay? It allows you to move forward a few turns, still get some damage, and then dig in and just do loads and loads of just rapid fire, heavy bolter damage. And the third reason is fairly obvious, guys. It's gone up to damage 2. Okay, damage 2 is just fantastic. The one reason I was really becoming an autocannon fanboy was the damage 2, to start taking on some of these, chunkier, more wound models that are coming out. Heavy bolter now does that again. One of the competitive things that we're seeing a lot that isn't being talked about as much is the return of tactical marines. Now they've all got 2 wounds each. Well, heavy bolter's really, really good at killing tactical marines. Okay, now honourable mention goes to the autocannon. Okay, the reason we get the honourable mention goes to the autocannon is because of the strength 7. Okay, that really allows you to cover. It doesn't really do much against the against things like knights. The heavy bolter still is actually better. But what the autocannon allows you to do is to sling some damage into those custodies, into those plague marines, into those gravis boys that are everywhere, into the Harlequin bikes, Harlequin vehicles, I should say, where the heavy bolter's not quite as good. So the autocannon gets an honourable mention. So again, if you're looking at running 18 infantry squads in your pure infantry army, if you're running 18, if 12 of those happen to be heavy bolters and 6 autocannons, that's fine. If they all happen to be autocannons, it's fine. But my recommendation would always be heavy bolter first, and then autocannon makes up the rest in your infantry squads. Okay. Now, those are the 2 sort of main saucy things, but there's still a couple of things I want to discuss. Last thing I would say is you want to be looking at putting a Voxcaster in probably every single squad. Okay, now this is a big change from what I've talked about previously in the past. Okay, this is kind of like if you've come to the end of the video, you get the treat at the end, you get the dessert, right? The reason I think that Voxcaster is so important is it allows you to protect your characters, and in a pure infantry army, there's two guarantees in this world. One, your opponent's going to take them in the ranks. Two, they're going to see the number of characters you've got and take assassinate. You need to deny. You're going to struggle to deny them within their ranks, but putting a heavy weapon in every single squad actually does help that, because the heavy weapon team counts as one model within the ranks, not two. So it actually means that each infantry squad that the enemy kills isn't a full within the ranks point. Interesting thing to know, that, isn't it? So that helps you mitigate secondaries very slightly. It gives you like a 10% extra durability versus within their ranks. But Voxcasters, the second thing that you know they're going to take is assassinate for all those characters. Voxcasters allow you to sit back, issue orders, never get upset, never get targeted, and you can be, you can have your infantry dogpile in the middle of the board whilst your characters are back in your deployment zone. And that's why they're so powerful. So Voxcasters, I would put one in every single squad. For each infantry squad, it costs 50 points. You want to be spending about 20 points on equipment for it in a pure infantry army. So that's why I think Voxcasters are really, really good. Last thing to mention, we're talking Sergeant Loadouts. Okay? Now, I did a video on Sergeant Loadouts recently. I think it's best sticking with Las Pistol and Chainsword. I know some people are going to say, but you took the 18-inch rapid fire trait. Surely you want to be looking at bolt guns. If you have 36 points left over in your army, give every sergeant in the army a bolt gun. Okay? You might as well. But only if you have points left over. They were better when they were 1 point. Now that they're 2 points, it's not as good. But if you, like I said, if you've got 36 points left over, give every sergeant in the army a bolt gun. If you don't worry about it. Anyway, guys, that is my video. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If you think I'm totally wrong, put it down there. Provide evidence. Call me out. And I will be happy to readdress this point if I have to. But I think, as far as I'm looking at Warhammer, looking at meta, they're the best loadouts to go for. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.